So my experiment was the impact of 3 different types of sugars and their melting points on the consistency of taste of fudge. So I had 3 different sugars that I was going to make the fudge with. So the first one was granulated sugar, turbinado sugar, and powdered sugar. So after looking up the background on these 3 different sugars, I realized that since turbinado sugar had bigger crystals, it would probably have the highest melting point, and since powdered sugar is more of a powder, it's going to have a lower melting point. So I found the melting point by using a Bunsen burner down here, and the results were the powdered sugar was 130 degrees Fahrenheit, the granulated was 155 degrees Fahrenheit, and the turbinado was 165 degrees Fahrenheit. So the turbinado was the highest of the melting points. And my hypothesis was if the fudge is made using powdered sugar, then it will be smoother and creamier than the fudge made with turbinado and granulated because of the kind of creamier sugar anyway. So I used a normal recipe. This is all the ingredients that I needed, and here's a picture of all of the supplies that I needed for it. So the recipe said after you put all the ingredients in to heat it up to 235 degrees, which in the first experiment I tried with all 3 of the sugars, but after realizing that after knowing the melting points, I realized that powdered sugar wouldn't be able to make it up to 235 degrees Fahrenheit because of its low melting point. So when I tried to do an experiment 1, it's hard to see here, but it was burnt. And turbinado and granulated made it up to 235 degrees, but granulated only barely made it up to that heat. So also in the first experiment, the batches of fudge hardened, but they weren't kind of the creamy taste of the fudge that you can see in this picture. It was more of like a caramel-like texture, which obviously is not the right kind of texture. The powdered sugar was burnt, as I said before, and the three pans were, as you can see, different sizes, so that might have caused an issue in the texture or consistency. There was, in the recipe it calls for cocoa powder, but I used hot chocolate powder as that was the only thing I had at the time. And so after all these problems in experiment 1, I conducted another experiment. So I changed the cocoa to real Hershey's cocoa, which is what it asked for in the experiment. I used the same size pans, and we heated the batches to their boiling points and a little bit higher so that they wouldn't burn. So powdered sugar we heated to 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and for turbinado we heated it all the way to the highest that it could be, which is 235, and granulated we heated to 225, so just 10 degrees below, just to avoid the burning. So turbinado ended up being the only one that was solid enough to eat. We're still not sure what happened, but the powdered and granulated were like creamy and not solid enough to eat. And so then a survey was made for 3 people to try the 3 different fudges to see which one they liked the best, which had the best texture and just overall taste. And here's the graph below. All 3 people chose turbinado. So for future scientists, I would recommend to definitely look at the recipe and understand everything that you're doing, and be very consistent with, if you're doing more than one experiment, be consistent with everything that you're doing. And since with the sugars that I chose, not all of them can make it up to that heat, so you probably shouldn't bring it up to the highest that it is, the highest that the recipe calls for, which was 235 in this case, if you have a feeling that it might not be able to make it up without burning.